Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're actually going to talk about Invest 94L, which has just formed into Tropical Storm Tammy, and it's tracking through the tropical Atlantic as we speak, and it's closing in on some of the Leeward Islands here and parts of the Caribbean. So we're going to talk about the land impacts that this storm could have today. So as always, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell notifications. As 97, yes, it is still 97% of you are not subscribed, so please do consider hitting the subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss another video. And let's get right into it. All right, so we're taking a look at the National Hurricane Center map here. You can see it just formed as of the 5 o'clock update. Winds of 40 miles an hour, pressure of 1,007 millibars, and is moving quite fast to the west at 23 miles an hour. So it is just barreling in towards the Leeward Islands here, as well as into Puerto Rico. So we're going to talk about all the land masses here. We're going to talk about all the places in the Caribbean that could be affected, and maybe even the potential for Bermuda to get some impacts as well. So here we're looking at the National Hurricane Center track. You can see again 40-mile-an-hour winds right now, but it will be strengthening even though it's moving fast. And sometimes when storms of this magnitude move fast, it doesn't give them a lot of time to organize because it's moving so fast. The rest of it, the storm's got to keep up with it. But it looks like it will still strengthen, at least according to the National Hurricane Center. And it's looking like winds of 60 miles an hour by 2 p.m. tomorrow. All right, and by 2 a.m. on the 20th, all right, so that'd be on Friday, looks like winds of 65 miles an hour and could even strengthen up to 70 once it leaves the islands. As you can see here, once it gets up to the north, 70 miles an hour. So tropical storm watch is already issued for Barbados as well as Guadeloupe. It's Guadalupe. I don't quite know which way to say it, but I'll say Guadalupe here. So feel free to correct me if you know the pronunciation. But yes, for Barbados. Again, all the Leeward Islands here, and the cone is just to the east of Puerto Rico. But as we all know with these tropical systems, impacts can be felt outside of the cone. And again, holding that 70-mile-an-hour strength, but it's getting very close to hurricane status. Remember, hurricane is 74 miles per hour. All right, so here's the earliest reasonable arrival time for tropical storm force winds. So have your storm preparation kits ready if you live anywhere in these islands. I would say in Barbados by Thursday night. I would say the Leeward Islands by Friday morning, 8 a.m., and Puerto Rico by Friday night. Those are your timelines to have everything ready. Bermuda, you are outside of that area because the track is going to go like this, and the winds could extend out to here, or sorry, probably draw that better, here and then here. So Bermuda, you might miss your tropical storm force winds, but you will still certainly get some wave and rip current action. But if the track does change, we will certainly keep you posted on that one. But again, the highest threat for tropical storm force winds will probably be to the east of Puerto Rico, so again, Guadalupe and Barbados. All right, let's take a look at the current storm tab. I know it does say 94L, but it's gonna have to update later. You can see here though, it does say winds of 40 miles an hour, 35 knots. Again, 1,007 millibars is our pressure. And if we take a look at the satellite, you can see here, you can see the storm moving pretty much from east to west here at a pretty nice, speedy rate here. A good clip from east to west. You can see convection near the center. It looks a little disorganized, right? It is a tropical storm now, as I was saying before. But yeah, it's still got to work because, again, the convection is spiraling up. Of course, we know around this time of day we get that convection really bubble up here. And it's certainly been doing it over the past couple of hours. But we'll definitely have to see what happens because, again, when tropical systems of this magnitude especially move that fast, it's hard for them to strengthen because it's got every part of the storm has to keep up with the rest of it. So here you can see, again, we're kind of switching from visible to the nighttime satellite imagery. All right, but you can still see near the center, there is definitely that blow up of thunderstorms. Kind of starting to see them rotate. If you look at those last couple of frames right now, you can see the storms even start to rotate a little bit. So we're definitely seeing some strengthening of thunderstorms near the center, which is a good sign. Sea surface temperatures, 86 pretty much in it as what's in its path, and then as it turns north, maybe dipping into the low to mid 80s over time. We take a look at the 850 millibar vorticity product. You can see not looking circular. Of course, one of these low pressure systems like over here in the Pacific with the storm over there right now. See how it's circular, right? This one's more kind of like an oval. It's more elongated. And that's a sign of, that it's not fully developed yet, right? You can kind of see this mid-latitude low pressure system over the United States or central U.S. right now. But you can see it's starting to become a little bit more circular. So once that really starts to happen, you'll know that it's really starting to intensify. All right, here we have the wind steering. Of course, we got an upper level high pressure system sitting right about here. So our storm, right, Tammy is sitting, tropical storm Tammy is sitting right there. And as you can see, it will kind of move to the west and make a northwest turn somewhere in here, right? The upper wind steering is favoring it. Of course, we got the trough that's also starting to dip a little bit over the east. So it's going to get funneled in between the high here and the low that will eventually form as a big low pressure. The low pressure that will form over the east, right? And it'll kind of get steered because, again, high pressure, clockwise flow, low pressure, counterclockwise flow, both pushing in this direction. So somewhere near Bermuda, probably to the east as of now, is where this will probably track. So again, kind of going like this. But the question is, will it turn north sooner and miss the the islands here, the Caribbean islands, or will it, maybe go west for a little bit longer and then kind of scrape the islands and then come up? Honestly, it depends on how strong the high pressure is and how deep this trough gets. Because if the trough gets deeper, it expands a little bit more. It's able to gain reach or gain access to that storm system, all right, and then help to pull it north a little bit more. So all depends, again, that high and low pressure system, that trough, everything is connected in weather, and we'll have to see what happens with those two. All right, so we take a look here at the oceanic heat content. You can see, again, as it moves to the west, the heat content will only get stronger. So that means warmer waters will be available further down below the ocean as well as on the surface. So that's going to help to strengthen the storm more. And I think that's one of the reasons why the National Hurricane Center, that and the sea surface temperatures and the fact that there's not that much wind shear. So even though it's moving fast, at least it's in a favorable environment. So there's the low center location right now, 51 degrees west, 13 degrees north. Storm tracks, you can see, again, the models have it going west, going right over Guadalupe pretty much, and then making the turn up to the north and to the north and east. All right, a few models do have it keep going to the west, but I think even these will still have it eventually curving north. Because, again, as long as that trough and that big storm system that happens over the northeast I talked about in the past video, as long as that still comes through, all right, that trough is going to pretty much shield the U.S. from a direct impact as of right now. Here's your GEFS model tracks, pretty much showing the same thing. You can see a westward track going over the islands in some fashion. Some have it going over Puerto Rico. Some have it just going over Guadalupe and then making that turn, pretty much missing Bermuda to the east. That seems to be the model consensus here. GEPS model tracks show the same thing. All right, again, pretty much right through that same region, making the turn east of Puerto Rico and then moving to the north and east after that. So there does seem to be, between the ensembles and all the other models and everything else, there does seem to be good model consensus, and that's, of course, a good sign. Also, there's I wouldn't say complete agreement, but the general consensus is that it's going to be a strong tropical storm or a weak Category 1 hurricane. A lot of the model intensity guidance points towards that. If we take a look at the tropical intensity index here, you can see highly favorable conditions here. Let me pull this out of the way. Highly favorable conditions in the Eastern Caribbean for development. So that's what the storm's going to move right into. It's going to be moving like this and then kind of making that turn north like this. So somewhere around the islands, because the reason the storm is going to be getting near the islands is because it started off further south, and the further south the storm is when it comes off the coast of Africa, the more it's going to take for it to be pulled northward, right? So if it starts initially further south, it's going to take a weaker high pressure to get it to pull north. So the fact that it's staying further south is increasing its chances of hitting the Caribbean islands here. All right, let's get into the tail end of the video here. We're going to take a look at some models. All right, we take a look at the H-Wharf. Is one of our first ones. We got a few here in today's video. You can see this. You can see. Take a look here at the low pressure system, really gaining strength here. I mean, pretty much into hurricane status by the time I end the Friday afternoon. That seems to be what the H-Wharf is calling for. So they're calling for pretty much rapid intensification or somewhere close to it. But they do also have it taking a northward turn. You can see right there, a northward turn and missing the islands. So there will still be a lot of wave impacts, a lot of wind impacts still, rip currents, but probably not so much, those rain and thunderstorms that we would see if there was a direct impact. Not saying this is the solution, but it is a solution. Right, that's something that could happen here. But the H-Wharf, I would say, is a good intensity model. So note that intensity, but I would say they're a better intensity model than they are, in terms of looking at it for the track. Let's take a look at the HAFSB next. All right, again, these are all hurricane models you can find on Tropical Tidbits. In my opinion, this strength track the strength of it looks a little bit more unreasonable in my opinion. They have it kind of just weakening off. However, they do also have it staying farther south, right? It doesn't really make that northward turn. It's kind of weaker and further to the south. So that's the consensus I've seen with this storm and a lot of others, is that typically systems that go south tend to stay weaker, and storms that curve north tend to actually get stronger. Okay. So the fact that it's staying further south and it's weakening, it does make sense, right? But I just don't think that scenario is going to happen, especially if that trough up on the East Coast is stronger. All right, how about the HMON? So these ones are not parent models. In other words, they're not zoomed out. So we're zoomed into the low pressure center here. But you can see it moving right over the islands. 1,001 millibars of pressure. You can see Guadalupe is right there. Barbados was off your screen there. Heavy rain falling right there. All right, and then it's going to continue to move on to the north and west, pretty much missing Puerto Rico a little bit to the east, right, kind of just scraping right by there. But if the low gets that close, Puerto Rico will see some outer rain bands at the very least. So you will see some impacts should the storm get this close. All right, how about the GFS model? Let's take a look at that. And you can see again, that turn to the north happened sooner, and it seems to get stronger. 989 millibars of pressure here. The reason that I think that it gets, one of the reasons at least, that it does get stronger when it makes the northward turn, because generally when a storm turns, it tends to slow down before making that turn, right? It's kind of, think of it like a tractor trailer. It can't go around a turn very fast. Well, neither can this storm system. It can't just make a pivot like this. It's going to make a slow, steady turn. So it slows down, spends more time over the warm water, and helps to kind of strengthen the system before it accelerates again once it finds the direction it wants to go in. That's one of the reasons. Right, but you can see it makes a turn, misses the islands a little bit, but still a lot of 979 millibars of pressure. Still going to see some rain. Puerto Rico points east on the islands here. Pressure dropping, so a lot of wind, a lot of wave action here. Probably double-digit wave heights at least. Probably, well, not triple-digit, but well into the double digits, right? 10, 20, 30-foot waves, certainly the possibility here. If we look at the European model, you can see, again, a lot of models are in agreement here. That's going to pretty much track somewhere around Guadalupe, whether it just grazes it to the north or ends up going through it to the west. A lot of the models do have a consensus that the low will be somewhere around Guadalupe. So that's good that the models are in agreement, and I would hope so because the storm is like 2.5 days away from hitting the region. But it is nice to still see them in agreement because there have been times where it's 24 hours out and they still can't agree. So that is a good sign. But you can see on the Euro, it scrapes it just to the north before moving off due north and then kind of missing Bermuda to the east and then kind of just tracking offshore here. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, keep it here for updates. We'll see what happens with this newly developed tropical storm Tammy and what kind of impacts it could bring to the Caribbean, maybe Bermuda, but we'll have to look at that a little bit further down the line. So stay tuned for future updates and future videos. I'm the Weather Dude signing off till next time, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.